Well, hello, everybody. You know what day it is. It is Wacky Wednesday, 5 p.m. Eastern Time, the Dennis and Andy Show. We're here. You know, realistically, I should be sitting there and you should be here because then the names would be right underneath.
But it never works out that way. And after this many years, dude, why change it now?
It's like the whole side of the bed thing. If your wife's like, hey, I got a night. Well, when you go to a hotel.
Well, is there a button to do a mirror where it just flops?
Yeah, but let's see. Hold on. Because, you know, when you go to a hotel, my wife never goes, I'm sleeping on the left. Because I'd be like, no, you're not. That's my side. Whether we're at home or not, that is my side of the bed. Yeah, mirror my camera right here. Oh, yeah, I don't like that.
It's just unnatural. It's just
I guess we can try it. I guess we'll try it. Because now when you do this, you're actually, you know, it's like a mirror.
Yeah, looks just fine.
All right, we'll go with it. You know, it's like holding up artwork backwards. You can see all the imperfections. This just shows that when you flip us backwards, we still look awesome.
Right.
And there's no imperfections. Correct. I mean, so boom, right there. Randy Howell is in the chat. What is up, Randy? Hello, always here. That's what we like to see. Popping links like a madman. That's right.
Always getting those links up and running.
Always. Subscribe to my channel there. Subscribe to the DNA Dennis channel right there. Dennis does a few things a little different on the DNA channel. He does quick flips, comic reviews, things like that.
Book and record playthroughs. I got 2 of them up last week and got a lot of comments. So thanks, guys. I'll keep them rolling.
That's right. Aloha, Joe.
There's Joe.
Joe was berating me on my live stream yesterday because I said it was Hawaiian shirt night on the Bros, and he's like, dude, it's Aloha shirt, not Hawaiian.
It's never a Hawaiian shirt.
It's Hawaiian where I come from.
Joe, for you.
It's America. I can say whatever I want. Dan, hello. Marcus Kellergrew in the house. All right, they're all here. We're here. No movie review this week. Because tomorrow night, my daughter and I are heading up to Raleigh to go to GalaxyCon. I'm not a guest. She just wants to go because she wants to meet Billy D. Williams. I guess he was in some movie called Star Wars. I don't know. She wants to meet him, so I'm doing my good dadly job of taking her. And, of course, I'll buy comics.
But technically, it was Empire Strikes Back. Just going there.
Whatever. Star Wars, The Empire Strikes Back.
There you go.
Good Lord. Stick to your Star Trek nerd stuff, okay?
Speaking of which, I did get caught up on Strange New Worlds. I probably will do a review. I actually can do it right now. This season sucks. Okay, there you go. There, I don't have to do one.
Whoa! What do you mean? You don't like Spock eating bacon?
It's been terrible. Terrible.
Did you guys get anything? Figures that good? What was the last con we went to? Oh, Garden State, right?
Yeah, and we did. We did. Yeah. We did a Heroes Comic Con and the Garden State Comic Con Comic Hall. You should find it on each of our channels. We've got it on there. But yeah, we did do with the figures because I wound up getting some a couple of the Mythic Legions. I don't even know if we went over that. And plus, then a bunch of the comics. I mean, it was a fairly long episode because we combined 2 into 1.
That's right. But anyhow, we have a guest today, and I'll be bringing him on. Let's see. I just want to see, what do I want to use? I always like to use a little something to bring a guest in. Let's see. What do I got here? Yeah, I'll go with this one.
Lock and load.
Oh, yeah, Joshua. Oh, damn it. Stop it. He's still going. Joshua, how do you say your last name? I don't want to mess it up because I guarantee I can.
Yeah, it's Joshua Derstine, like Frankenstein. Most people say Derstine or Durstin,
Did you
but
spell it
yeah.
wrong?
No. Oh, I did. I was trying to get back in here quickly, and then I.
Yeah, because I'm like, that's why I said that. If it was spelled right, I know I could say dirt.
It's kind of like Brett
that's
right.
Favre, Favre. I got you. I feel where you're coming from. It's all good.
I was trying to get back in here fast because we had that mic issue, so I just typed my name in real fast, and I guess I wasn't looking at how to spell it. So
it's all good. It's all good. No worries. Well, that's cool. Well, welcome to the show. We like to keep things nice and easy and light around here. Randy, look at this. Randy's awesome. Look at that. He's already posting the link for your campaign. By the way, guys, the links for his campaign, Kor-Drath, all that are in the description below. So thank you for posting that. And man, Joshua, I gotta tell you, it's 18, man. 18, you're 18, dude. Wow, my daughter's 20. I thought when I met somebody that was like 25 and they're like, I do this for a living. And I'm like, God, I feel old. Now I really do because my daughter is older than you. So, yeah, dude, that's when you just graduated high school, right?
Yep.
And here we are. You're doing your first campaign, and I gotta tell you, I think you're off to a really good start with it. So
it looks nice. It looks nice when we later in the show when we get around to popping it up there for everybody to see. Yeah, I can't wait to see how this one turns out. This is definitely pretty cool. Randy's calling you Old Man Andy. It feels like a Marvel comic. Old Man Logan teams up with Old Man Andy.
Well, that'd be just fine because I'm all about kicking ass. So there you go. What's up, AJ? Andrew, AJ, do I need to block you? That is not my name. So, I mean, we always ask. You're dead naming me. Stop it.
Oh, no, that's all good.
So we always ask a new person to the show, new creator, what their origin story is.
Mm-hmm.
Now, admittedly, most of the people we've had on have at least, I'm trying to think, the youngest person might have been Renee, and Renee has like 13 I think, years under her belt. But I mean, you've got months under your belt.
Yeah.
Well, I'm curious with your origin story. You tell us your origin story. How did you get involved into comic books, and what made you want to do your very own book?
So obviously, I think as kids, we all sort of draw a lot, and we come up with different ideas and stories and worlds. So I was always into that as a kid, but I never really took it very seriously until I was about 14, and I was watching a lot of different art YouTubers and learning a bunch of different stuff from them and experimenting with stuff. But at that time, I wasn't even into comics. But then I got really, really into Spider-Man. And so the different movies and stuff. So I was watching those, and then I realized there's, people draw these things. And so I went to a comic book store on Free Comic Book Day, and it just so happened that Spawn #1 was there reprinted for the 300th issue anniversary. They reprinted the first one for the anniversary. So that was the first comic book that I ever physically got. Before that, I had kind of read like Ultimate Spider-Man and Venom online and really got into that stuff. And yeah, so I was really into all the storytelling aspects and all that. And then David Finch started his YouTube channel, or restarted his YouTube channel in 2020 when COVID-19 was going on. And so I started watching those videos. And before David Finch, I had originally wanted to be a concept artist. I was really into Star Wars and all the art of Star Wars books, and I thought that was the coolest thing. But the more I watched David Finch and I got more into Todd McFarlane and all the 90s guys, I realized my passion lies within comics and really hyper-detailed, awesome, energetic comic art where you can tell any story you want. And so I just kept practicing. I think I really got into comics when I was 15, so I've been practicing for 3 years. And then Dan Fraga, you guys all know Dan Fraga.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he hired me, I think I was like around 16, 17, to do some a short story for Rascal. So that was my first like break into comics. And then this Indiegogo campaign that I'm doing is like my first full comic that I'm doing. And then
So,
it all kind of came full circle because I went on David Finch's show and he drew the characters. So that was crazy. And then I'm having a portfolio review with Todd Friday. So
oh, nice.
yeah,
So I guess that's going to be a virtual thing, obviously.
yeah,
Portfolio review.
for sure.
Is that something he's doing? Is that something that's going to be other people can watch, or you mean it's just a one-on-one thing that you're doing with him that he offered to do?
It's other people, like they're selecting different portfolios to for him to
Oh, okay.
review, and they're going to select mine. So yeah.
Oh, cool.
But
So what did he do? Put something out on social media about,
yeah, he
hey,
has like a Discord now, and so he's got like a little community there, and they did a little thing for that. So it'll be the first time I can get his eyes on my work. So doing a nice
dude, that's
spawn
cool.
piece for before I go on. But yeah,
So you're going to, or you already have?
on Friday I'm gonna go on.
No, but the spawn piece, you're going to do it, or you
Oh,
already
I'm
have?
getting it done. I'm getting it done tonight, and then it'll be
Oh,
ready to
nice.
go.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I look forward to seeing that. Dude, that's really cool. So are you more, when you read comics, are you more into physical or digital because of your age? I mean, my daughter's all, well, actually, I take it back. She goes to the comic shop with me and buys physical books, but she still does read stuff online as well.
Yeah, I do both. I definitely prefer traditional comics because it's just more of an experience to read. But I
Mm-hmm.
do read quite an abundance of digital comics because they're so easy to consume and find, and you can
Sure.
zoom in on the art, and it's just very accessible rather than having to go out and find the book or find a book on Amazon or eBay or something
Right.
like that. So
That's cool. So you're doing this, you just graduated high school, and now you got your first crowdfund going. What do mom and dad think about you basically going, hey, I'm going to do this. I'm done with school, at least for now. Are they like, you go get them, kid? Or are they like, oh, well,
yeah,
where
they're
are they at on
definitely
this?
in the I've definitely won them over because I talk about this stuff nonstop. So they know, the only reason they know about Todd McFarlane or David Finch is because I talk about them all the time. But after, seeing my dedication and my drive and everything, they were pretty confident that, I could make this work if I really wanted to. So, I really appreciate their support and all that, and that they didn't
Sure.
try to force me to go to college where I'm going to go in debt for decades. So
Yeah.
that's
Oh,
nice.
yeah. Yeah.
So,
Go ahead.
I was curious. So, you kind of said what you had read. What was the very first comic book that you picked up or bought yourself?
Oh, I think that would have been Pitt. I really wanted the Pitt comics, so I got those. Oh, and then also I think a Flash comic by Brett Booth. I'm a huge Brett Booth fan, so
Oh, cool. Yeah.
yeah, and then a Ryan Stegman. The whole I got the trade paperback of the King in Black, that event.
Oh,
They
yeah.
did some really, really cool art on that. So yeah, I wanted those physical copies to own.
Yeah.
Excellent.
I read King in Black. So yeah, I like Stegman's work. I mean, you name great guys. Dale Keown's awesome.
Yeah, for sure.
Stegman's great. Yeah, I mean, you definitely have good taste. Obviously, Dave Finch. So I'm guessing those guys are kind of like your comic book artistic, people, heroes or influences. That's the word I was looking for.
And it's really cool now because on the digital age, I'm actually friends with Ryan and Dave and Brett. So it's like, it's been really cool getting to know them. So I get to know my heroes personally, as well as them doing covers for my books. So that's really cool.
Yeah. And that's definitely, I mean, it is a great time because of the internet and stuff. I mean, I did not have that luxury back in the day. So I met these guys at conventions and stuff. And, if I thought that the chat was going well, I might be like, can I get your phone number? But, that is the nice thing is you can talk to all these guys online. I mean, I haven't met many professionals that aren't open to talking to fans and, fans like yourself that are also creators that want to know, how can I get this off the ground? How can I get this going? So
are you mainly digital or traditional? Do you do a combination of them? How do you do all your artwork?
So both Dan and Ryan kind of do the same thing. So what they taught me is you do your layouts digitally because you can resize and, it's just a lot easier. Like if you draw the head too big, you can just make it smaller instead of having to completely redo it. So you do the layouts digitally and then
yep.
Dan, I think he does full digital pencils now, but in the past he's printed it out and penciled on top of it. And that's what Ryan does. I really
Yep.
enjoy the feeling of physical pencil against paper. So that's my methods, is that oftentimes I'll do a little thumbnail sketch on a printer paper, take a picture of that, put it on my iPad, do a digital layout, print it out, and then pencil on top of that. So
Are you doing all your work the traditional size, 11 by 17?
yep, 11 by 17.
That's cool. I love that. Yeah, I mean, when I did First Man, that's how I did it. I drew digital, printed it out, inked, traditionally, but on the new project, everything is just straight to the board because I don't know, since that's how I started, just kind of getting back to that. It is a different mindset.
Yeah, definitely.
But, the cool thing is because you're new at this and you're learning as you go, it's cool to start off with the iPad because you just get used to it right out of the gate.
Mm-hmm.
And it'll just become easier. And then, it'll be because I assume you've drawn stuff traditionally before.
Yeah, so actually before I got the gig with Dan, I was completely traditional. So after Dan, I used my first paycheck. I bought an iPad and I bought a printer and I was ready to go. So
I hope you got it. Did you get a printer that's an all-in-one? So it's a scanner.
Yeah, it's a scanner, 11 by 17, 300 DPI, all that good stuff. It was a really solid price for everything that you get. So.
Oh, yeah. No, that's cool. So when you worked with Dan, did he want to look at your layouts first before you moved on to like final pencils? Like, how was it working with Dan?
Yeah, so the writer that I worked with, so he did a more of a Marvel method script, or a similar way that Todd writes his scripts. I know Todd will just go pages 1 and 2, this happens, and he won't give like a panel by panel breakdown. So that's the kind of stuff that I was working on. So it was a little bit daunting because it was my first comic project, and I had to completely figure out the layout by myself. And so I would figure that out. I'd send it over to Dan and he'd say, either fix this or change this or make this more impactful or stuff like that. And it was originally a 6-page story, but it was just so condensed that we wound up making it into an 8-page story to have a little bit more room for the art to breathe, so that it wasn't all, because you don't want like a super cluttered layout. So want very nice, smooth transitions between everything. So yeah, working with Dan was absolutely fantastic. He's a great guy, and he's a great teacher, and he's a great boss in how he explains stuff. So.
Very cool. Yeah, no, he's a fine gentleman, as I like to say to Dan when I see him. So, and other things. So, well, that's very cool. Let's look at the campaign. So there it is. Amarok, how did you come up with the idea for this? Or is this something that kind of like once you got into comics and you started reading stuff, just these ideas for it kind of started gelling? Or how'd you work this out?
So I actually had this idea way before I got into comics. I had it when I was like 13, actually, because before I even wanted to be an artist, I wanted to be a writer. So I had all these different ideas and stories and characters, and Amarok has always been the most prevalent one. And he was way different when I started out, but as I've grown and matured as a person, he's also evolved alongside me. But the name has always been Amarok. So Amarok actually derives from an Inuit Native American word, which is basically like this big lone wolf that was said to go hunt prey in the middle of the night, which is a very good sort of allegory for this character. As I grew up, he evolved into what he is now, and I just got a lot more ideas for the world and how his powers work and where everything is derived from and the kind of story that I really wanted to tell. And I think I've gotten it to a point where it's a pretty complicated and, you know, emotionally nuanced story that has some really good story beats, but also really exciting action and really visceral imagery. So,
Oh, that's cool. Actually, I want to see the trailer. Did you do the trailer yourself, or?
so yeah, I really cared about this trailer, so I actually hired a composer and a guitarist, and then I actually had a buddy that did the voice at the beginning, the bass at the very beginning. So, you know, and then I edited it all together myself, and this is the end product. So,
All right, let's check this out. Thumbs up. Can you hear it? Dude, that looks good. You edited that yourself, huh?
yeah, thank you. I mean, obviously, it's a little bit smoother when it's not like broadcasting to a bunch of people, but yeah, that's the trailer for it. So I was really happy with how that all came together and the opportunity that I had to work with different musical people because the theme was very important to me and it sounded exactly like I wanted it to. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah,
Dude,
when that electric guitar went and the crescendo hit and it
Yeah.
fits into color like that,
Exactly.
dude, that was awesome. That was a great transition.
Yeah.
What type of music do you like?
I'm all over the place, so I think that one pretty much captured a lot of my interest. So I'm very much
Yeah.
into soundtracks like Hans Zimmer, John Williams,
Oh, nice.
Ludwig Göransson. Those guys are really fantastic and really inspire me in a lot of different ways. And then I'm a really big fan of heavy metal, just the instrumentals. I really, really dig the instrumentals more than anything. And then I'm into lyrical wise, a little bit of outlaw country. So not that I don't like new country at all. I really like Johnny
Right.
Cash and Marty Robbins and
Oh,
stuff
yeah.
like that. A little bit of like indie bluegrass music. Basically, if there's a really nice like raspy voice, I'm really gravitate towards that. Or if the song still tells a compelling story in some way, or if there's just a really cool cinematic feel to it. The NF has a really cinematic feel to his music as well. So, you know, that's sort of the stuff that encompasses my interests. Or, you know, like Eminem's Lose Yourself has a really,
Right.
you know, cinematic feel. So anything that has big energy to it.
So for the heavy metal stuff,
That's
I'm
cool.
just curious, like, are you a Joe Satriani fan, Yngwie Malmsteen, you know, for great guitarists like that, or?
I don't even get into the names or anything. I just find stuff that I'm like, oh, this is cool, and then I'll play it. Like, you know, I'll listen to Metallica or Disturbed, or, you know, I don't really like research into it. I just kind of put whatever I come across and
Sure.
play it. Yeah.
That's cool. That is cool.
Or Nirvana. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. All good stuff. Yeah.
All right. So give us a little bit of the story of Amarok here. What are we looking at that's going to be going down in this first book?
For volume
All
one.
right. So Amarok is a futuristic fantasy that takes place thousands of years into the future. So the idea behind it is that you take a high fantasy world or dark fantasy world, such as Lord of the Rings or Game of Thrones, and we sort of evolve that setting thousands of years into the future into a cyberpunk setting or like a Blade Runner-esque setting. So the idea is that these civilizations that are, they're based around different clans and tribes and stuff like that, as they move forward, they start industrializing and such, similar to Earth, we're always taking advantage and abusing our resources. So what they did was they tried to completely take magic for themselves and abuse it, and just were really selfish with it and did not respect the sacredness behind it. And so the idea is that magic is kind of the sentient thing that exists in this world. So instead of it letting itself being taken advantage of, it fights back. And so it starts mutating, and the trees start growing super tall, and the animals start mutating. And so the lands that were once able to live in harmony with the humans, they've now become uninhabitable. So the civilizations have had to group off into separate sectors, and they build these fortresses to protect themselves from the outside world. And there's these huge cities that lie within. And so essentially they've taken magic and turned it into a synthetic drug that, once injected, uniquely affects each user depending on their blood type and DNA makeup. So it's sort of this unholy union between science and magic. And so, for example, when, Amarok, for example, injects it, it turns his blood into a magical energy source that he can then use to power his arm. So it sort of is this thing that has, its benefits, but it also takes a toll on the user. So obviously it's using his bloodstream, and then it is a drug, so you do become addicted to it. And it's sort of an allegory for substance abuse and how that kind of feels, because if you've ever known anybody on drugs, they can get this high and, they feel very, very powerful. But then when you go through the withdrawal, it's just like hell. And so this sort of represents that in issue 1, and we'll continue to explore who and what Amarok is, because when you open the story, you think he's this very specific kind of stereotypical dark and brooding vigilante that still has morals and stuff. Like, you think he's kind of like Batman or Punisher.
Right.
But as the story goes on, you very quickly realize in this very particular scene that he is not like that at all. And he's completely unhinged. He's off the rails. He's got PTSD. He's a schizophrenic, and he's on drugs. So he's just an absolute madman. So he's rampaging through the city, going on these little ambushes where he jumps and he attacks different patrols going around the city, and you don't really know why, but as the book goes on, you get hints of flashbacks to his very troubled past and a very specific event that changed his course of life and kind of got him where he is now. So as far as the city's aware, Amarok's sort of become this legend or this myth, this big beast that goes around hunting, patrols and stuff, because nobody really lives to tell the tale of what happened. So nobody really knows what he is. And then obviously you realize it's just a shirtless guy in a cape on drugs. So it's a bit of this book is all about subverting expectations and kind of leading the reader on and making them think one thing, and then completely turning it around and surprising them. So,
dude, that's cool. Are you sure you're only 18?
Yeah, that's what I get every time I go on the streams. I give my little pitch, and then they're like, "Whoa, that's
deep.
a lot." Yeah.
I can hear the people in the audience yelling, "Nerd, nerd!"
Yeah.
No
You just
way.
got to embrace that.
Not at all,
sure.
man. That is
For
seriously,
sure.
dude. That's pretty freaking impressive, man.
I like it.
Yeah, that sounds really cool.
Yeah, it's a pretty bombastic idea to try to explain, because it has all these different working parts. But I think once you can actually read it and get to experience it, it'll click a lot more. So
Sure. Yeah.
So I know this is volume 1, so I'm just curious, how many do you have plans set up for? Is this a self-contained story? Will this lead into number 2? How do you have it kind of planned out?
So the idea with Amarok is that it's my spawn. It could potentially go on forever. It could be an ongoing series, you know,
Right.
wherever it goes. Issue 1 in particular, it's a very self-contained story. You're very focused on Amarok and what's going through his head and his particular experience and his thought process. It's very similar to how Frank Miller writes with Sin City or Daredevil, where you sort of have that inner monologue as he's doing, you know, killing bad guys and stuff like that. The focus isn't exactly on the simple story, but rather what he's thinking while he's doing this stuff. And then it starts to heat up. And then we do end off on a bit of a cliffhanger, but it does have a ending to it where, you know, it's not like a complete cliffhanger.
Right.
It sort of ends where it's a self-contained story, but then it has potential to go on farther. So
Sure.
Yep.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's the advice I give to people doing these is that's the best way to do it. You know, everything, obviously there's always little subplots and stuff that can continue on, but I think if you can kind of wrap up an overall or the overall arching thing in the book, so people do get to the end and feel, I'm satisfied.
yeah,
But the next one,
sure.
we'll pick up with some little stuff. I think that's the best way to go, especially considering this isn't, you know, what we're doing here with crowdfunding isn't a monthly thing. It's, you know, for a lot of us, it's maybe one book a year, you know? So you definitely want to have the reader get that satisfaction so they know, all right, I want to come back for the next one, but I'm also not waiting this extended amount of time to see what happened. So,
Right. Yeah.
dude, your pencils are really, really freaking tight and detailed. How long does it take you to get a page done?
Well, it's a very long process. I'm a very much a perfectionist, so I'll like redo, like when I'm doing my layouts, I'll actually get my layouts like pretty tight, and then I'll
Yeah,
do even tighter pencils, but I'll do multiple reiterations and stuff. So my main thing is I'm just trying to work on getting faster, but you know, when you're penciling so tight, it can definitely take a while. And then obviously I'm still kind of learning on the fly, so it's like
sure.
I'm doing stuff that, because you've been in the business for decades, so it's like you know how to operate scenes and you've done different stuff before. So if you're going to draw a, you know, a fight scene, you know what to do. But this is like my second time
Oh,
drawing
yeah.
a fight scene, and
Oh, yeah.
it's completely different than the first one I ever drew. So all this sort of pacing and all that stuff is something that's still new to me. So I want to make sure I'm delivering the best product, and that there's no major flaws, and that I'm giving my best work that I can. So, you know, really focusing on just taking my time and getting it done. But
No, that's
yeah,
cool.
so
I mean,
the
just take your time. I mean, that's the thing. That's the luxury you have
yeah,
is, you
exactly.
know, you can do that. Jimmy Reyes, did Dave finish? Of course he did. Jimmy, there it
Hmm.
is. I just scrolled up to it. So,
Yeah, that cover is available if you go down to the perks. I think the thing about Indiegogo is that you can't actually edit perks. You have to hide a perk and then do a new one if
I
you want to
know.
Yeah.
update
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
So I'll have to get to that. But the David Finch cover is, I think it's the fourth one. There it
Yeah.
is. If anybody wants to hop on that, it
But this one,
obviously,
now, has this been colored yet or it's not colored yet?
it's not colored yet. I am working with Andrew Dollhouse, so he's doing
Yeah.
stuff for Marvel and DC and the big two and stuff like that. So, you know, he has a very tight schedule that he's working on. So he hasn't had time to color it yet, but obviously the finished cover will be colored. And then
Sure.
there's also a black and white edition add-on if you'd like to get the black and white edition, because the book comes as a colored edition, and then you have the option to get a black and white edition, which the interiors will be just fully inked and no color,
Right.
if that's something you're interested in. Because I'm a big fan of inks, and I'm a big fan of seeing all the cross hatching and the details, and this really is the book of 1,000 lines. There is a lot crammed into here. So if you really are a big fan of comic art and a big fan of highly detailed art, you know, feel free to check that out. And John Livesey knows what he's doing. He's inked over Mark Sylvester and all those guys that use the
Oh, yeah.
scissor cross hatching. Like, you know, Philip Tan is a really big influence for me at the moment.
Oh,
So
yeah.
that's definitely something that's influencing my work as I continue on. But yeah, so all sorts of cool stuff.
Yeah, no, John is really good. I don't think I've ever worked with him, but I did work with Andrew Dalhouse before in a few projects. So, I can easily vouch for his coloring. I mean, I can vouch for John's inking too. I just haven't worked with him. What was it like when you got because, the first job I ever did, the inks just weren't great.
Mhm.
The guy they put on me just wasn't great. So I was still anticipating, but when I saw the stuff, I was disappointed. I'm assuming when you first saw John's inks over something you did, you had to just be ecstatic.
Yeah, so if you actually scroll down, it's the third page here. There's you can see the inks, but they were the absolute coolest because
Oh
he
yeah,
just added so much to it, even more than I already had. And I always feel bad because I'm a tight penciler, and that's that can be annoying for an inker. And I've been trying to loosen up for John to let him do more stuff, but when he just kind of took my piece and then really even brought it to the next level, that was it's just the coolest thing. And I got to see the works in progress and got to see it come together. And yeah, it's just really exciting to be able to work with such a prestigious inker who is also a big fan of detail and that 90s
sure.
style rendering that I'm a huge fan of, but isn't as, mainstream as it used to be. And, so I've just been really blessed and grateful to have such a seasoned inker that is really excited to work with me. And, we'll have phone calls and we'll just talk about stuff and the industry and everything. So it's just been fantastic to have him not only as my inker, but also a friend and a mentor. So,
Is he? I assume he's inking over your original pencils. You're mailing him the stuff.
yeah, so we're doing it old school. He's inking directly on the board. And yeah.
So when you put that first batch into the mail, were you nervous?
No, I've done commissions and stuff where I've had to ship off my art, and I'm almost pretty careless with my art. Like if I'm not going to sell it, I'll just throw it on the floor, and I have the digital file, so if anything happens to it, it's not a huge deal. But I know some people frame their art or put it in portfolios and stuff, and I'm just like, I'll put it in a stack over there.
Yeah, that's kind of how I
So
am. I just
yeah,
I don't sell my stuff, but I just put it to the side. So
right.
you know,
We are taking better care of Amarok's pages because obviously they are available for sale if anybody's
that's right.
interested. So I'll make sure not to give you one with mustard or ketchup or anything on it. So
That would be
The
good.
extra flair.
yeah,
Um,
that's
so
actually a
when I
story
was
that John's told me is he's worked with Dave before, and Dave has a bad
yeah,
habit of coffee stains. So John has to ink directly on top of those and try to cover it up. But yeah, none of
I don't
that
have
with
a problem. I
Amarok.
don't.
So
I'm pretty paranoid about food and drinks and stuff like that. But when it comes to like the cleanliness of a page in regards to like smudging and whiteout,
oh
because I ink
yeah,
my own
yeah.
stuff, white I don't care. In fact, I like the pages. I wish Dan was over here before Heroes Con, and he was looking at my pages for Kor-Drath, and he's like, man, your ink isn't like jet black even. It's like
Yeah,
grayed out and stuff. I'm like, yeah, dude, I adjust all that shit in Photoshop. I don't care if my ink's not,
right.
100%
Yeah.
black on the page. I want to see the gray of the ink. I want to see the white out, the pencil smudges, all that stuff. I love that stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
My inking style is definitely a little bit. If you go down like way down, you can see
yeah.
I did the black and white cover that I inked
Oh, yeah, yeah,
myself,
yeah.
so you can see all the whiteout and the splatter. It's the second one. Yeah, there it is.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
all
yeah.
that stuff was, hand inking, and there's a lot of brush pen inking, and I did a bunch of whiteout, like the city lights down below and the lightning and the splatter. I'm
Yeah.
really big into. I really like Jay Lee's effects. He has some awesome stuff in the '90s, and
Yeah.
Stephen Platt. Stephen Platt's such a massive influence to me. He's a little bit more reserved, so I haven't been able to strike up a conversation with him, but I do comment on his Instagram posts and he likes them. So I guess
No,
there's
that's cool.
that. But yeah, he's such a big influence on me as well. So, really trying to prioritize the energy and the dynamics and the cool factor. And I guess
Oh, yeah.
when I get older, maybe I'll get more boring and it'll look a little less all over the place. But for now, I'm just bringing everything I got and putting
Dude,
everything I
you've
have
got
into it. So,
you. I mean, I think you've got a good long career ahead of you. I mean,
hopefully, yeah.
like I said, when he was in college at 18, I was going to a place called the Kubert School when I was 18.
I had thought about going to the Cupid school, but then I looked at the recent graduation portfolios and I wasn't too impressed, so I decided against it just because of the cost and everything. But yeah.
I mean, I think honestly, looking at your stuff, there was nobody in my first year when I went back in, my first year was in 1988. Nobody in my first year was doing stuff like this, Now by third year, sure, but not in first year.
Yeah.
And with, somebody asked us on another stream if they think they need to go, to art school. And I think all of us pretty much had the same answer, which was, art school is good if you don't have a lot of self-motivation. But if you're motivated with what you can get on YouTube these days, and there's so many great how to draw books too. I mean, once again, when I was coming up in the 80s, it was How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way, and maybe one or two other books, if that.
Bridgman,
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
of course, those books too. But with YouTube and stuff, and like you said, Dave Finch's channel is freaking great. I like watching some of the stuff just because I just like, the funnest part of this stuff for me is the initial breakdowns and layouts. I like to see how people construct things, put the figures together and stuff like that. All the other stuff, the final stuff, I mean, it's fine. It's what you have to do to make the comic. But I like being able to get into the artist's head. And with, sometimes on my channel, I'll do drawing stuff, not nearly as much as Dave does, but, guys like Dave and other channels that they really just focus on the how-to and stuff. Yeah, I don't know if art school for wanting to draw comics is that necessary unless you're really starting from scratch, and you're not.
In my opinion, the internet has such a plethora of resources that you essentially get everything from college and more just by looking at YouTube and different websites and, howtodrawcomics.net. That helped me. Or even just going on Twitter. The only reason I had originally gotten Twitter was because I saw Brett Booth. He's giving out free critiques and free redraws of poses. And he is one of the most dynamic artists, in my opinion. So to have the opportunity to say, hey, what would you have done with this pose? And for him to just completely do, because whenever he does these redraws, it only takes him like a minute, but they are just so full of energy and gesture that it has, just really, really helps out.
Wiley Draw says, how does an 18-year-old discover comics nowadays?
Well, the first thing was YouTube, and then, went from there.
Yeah. And you said, we were talking before, movies and stuff. Do you remember what the first superhero movie was you saw? Because, 18, that means you were born in 2005, so there's no way you saw Iron Man in the theaters.
Yeah. I think it was a rerun of the original Spider-Man on TV, but we actually we moved around a lot, and we didn't usually have the fancy cable TV and all that stuff. So at the place we were in, it had that, and so it was just on, and we were watching a few scenes, but we didn't even watch the full movie. So that was my first introduction. My actual first introduction to pop culture, as a big thing, was the original Star Wars, and then the Clone Wars TV show kind of supplemented that. And again, it was so it's such a nostalgic thing to think about, because I didn't have instant access to every single movie. So it'd be catching scenes when I saw them on TV and sort of fantasizing about what it was about and the story and the characters and everything, and trying to get all the information that I could from books and other sources. So, that was my first sort of experience. And then I didn't really get into the comic book sphere until my teens. So,
Nice. Why don't we break down your perks, your different tiers and stuff? Because I know a lot of people either watching it now or on the reviews, they're gonna.
Oh.
I'm sure they're gonna have some questions on some of your perks.
For sure. So the featured one, you get all the covers. So I had the amazing Rob Willis do a cover, and he was gracious enough to also supply me with a logo, which I'm a little bit biased, but I think that's one of the coolest logos out there.
I was going to ask you, so he designed your logo? I was going to ask who did it.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
that's cool.
And he actually did the Knox Comics logo too, so I just had him do like everything. But,
hey, real quick, where does Knox come from for the name Knox Comics?
So Nox is it's a Latin word that means like darkness or something like that. So I just really liked how it sounded, and I felt like it fit the aesthetic of the kind of comics that I want to put out, because obviously it's such a bit of a dark and edgy. Essentially, my idea behind Amarok is that it's a dark fantasy story told in a heavy metal style. So I just wanted something that really encapsulated all that, and I kind of brainstormed it with a friend, and we came up with Knox Comics. So
that's cool.
See all the thought he puts into stuff?
It is.
Dude, 18. You're like 58, 59. You don't put half this thought into anything.
Yeah. Well, you're still 60 then.
Shut up.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of like really, having a deep, nuanced meaning to everything and doing everything for a specific purpose. Like even down to the little details that nobody will notice. Like even in the first page, the first face you get is from the antagonist, right? It's the knight taking off his helmet. And so the idea with that is that, he's sort of a bit of a rebellious, a little, he doesn't want to keep his helmet on. He's a rookie. He's a young gun, and he doesn't care about the rules. And then the other thing is, if you've ever been in the military, those guys have their mustaches, but they have to be trimmed to a very specific length so that they don't, so it's sort of shows that he kind of is pushing the limits of the rules, and that he doesn't really care, and that he's like, I'm going to have my mustache just to be a little bit rebellious. And then, obviously he sort of has that Prince Charming, that kind of the knight aesthetic to him. So it sort of is tying these ideas together, that Amarok, he looks much more villainous and demonish. And then the guys who are supposed to be the antagonists, they seem much more, like the good guys almost. But yeah, so that was an important little detail to me, that, obviously everybody's just going to be like, oh, it's a guy with a mustache. But to me, it's like a whole little, he has his own backstory and his own everything, even though he's a relatively minor part of this story. But, he could come back later, so watch out. But so cool. The feature perk is all the covers. So you get Rob Willis's cover, you get Kanan White's cover, my cover, and then David Finch's cover is included.
Nice.
Each perk includes a digital copy for free. So the digital only is that's just there for people that don't want to spend a lot of money, or you don't want to pay for the shipping. Say you live in Ireland or something and the shipping's super expensive, and you're like, I don't want to pay for that. Digital only is the way to go. But just keep in mind that you will get a digital PDF with a physical copy as well. So you'll get the same exact thing for free if you get a physical copy. So the main cover is Rob Willis, because that's just my favorite. And then after that is the black and white line art edition. If you happen to hate color or be colorblind, or you just like really, really cool art, that's the one to go for. Will have all the detail that me and John are putting in. And then obviously you have my cover, and then you have Kanan's cover, and then you have Dave's cover if you just want to get one of those by itself. And then if you go to checkout, you can obviously add on a bunch of different perks and stuff. And then, but if you just want to get like two covers and you can't really decide, there's a perk for that, and you can just do it right here.
But is on that dual one with the two covers, if you choose that perk, because I had kind of looked at that one. The first one looks like so you have to choose a black and white one, and the second one's color.
Yeah, it might be that. This is all like new to me, so I'm just like, but yeah, I think that might have been what I went with. So, but if you want two colored covers, you can just add on one at checkout.
Yeah.
But,
Cool.
Yeah. And then there is, if we go down, there's all the covers, and then you get all the
Oh
black
yeah.
and white editions. So if you just want everything, you can
Nice.
get it down there. And then there's an even bigger perk that
Oh,
you will get all the colored covers, all the black and white covers, the virgin editions. So no logos or trade dress or anything. You'll get a sketch card, I think three 8.5 by 11 posters, and then an 11 by 17 poster. So if you're a big money spender or collector and you just want a bunch of extra stuff, you can get that, and your name will also be in the back of the book with a thank you. So yeah, and then moving on from there, we are offering the original art.
wow.
So if you're a really big spender, this is going to be fully inked by John Livesey, obviously penciled
Sure.
on a traditional board. And I kind of split it into 3 different sections. So you can get the sequential pages if, that's the cheapest one. And you also get to see the storytelling aspects. You can get a splash page, which are, one of the coolest things in comics because it's just all in your face. And,
Oh
and
yeah.
if you go down, you can get the double page splashes that'll be in the book. So I have some really cool ones planned for that. And it's all first come, first serve. So when the
That's
books
what I
are
was going to
finished,
say. So if somebody picks the double page splash, right, but you don't
yeah.
have it drawn yet, or you don't have them all drawn yet,
Mhm.
how would that work then?
So I'll wait until fulfillment. And then
Okay.
once we reach fulfillment, I will hit them up because I can see if they're the first one. And I'll say, here's the 5 pages. Pick whichever one you think is the coolest or whichever one you like the best. And that's the one you get. And then from that point on, we'll just go down the list of people that buy stuff. And then I did have the original cover for sale, but it has been sold.
Nice.
So that's pretty cool.
Dude, let me
Yeah.
tell you, selling basically the first cover
Yeah.
you ever did for 1,500 at 18. That's really
Yeah.
cool.
I kind of like put the prices up. I was like, nobody's probably going to buy this stuff, but if you want to buy it, then by all means. And so it was really
Right.
cool to see somebody actually willing to pay that much. So, yeah.
Did when that sold, did you tell your mom and dad, and they were like, how much did you say?
Yeah, I was like, yeah, I sold it for 1,500. So they were they thought that was cool, but yeah.
Very cool, man. Oh, I have another question, kind of family wise. Do you have siblings or no?
So I do have an older sister. She's kind of the person that, got me into reading and art in the first place.
Oh,
Just
cool.
kind of when I was dabbling in it and just kind of playing around with it, and I didn't really have a direction that I was going, but we would draw Star Wars stuff and make each
Are,
other little
are you the
storybooks
only
and
are
yeah.
you the only art one in the family then?
Yeah, I'm the only art one. Everybody else sort of is a normal person with a normal life. So uh, yeah,
Your sister's not like, what the hell, mom and dad? You made me go to college. What?
right, yeah,
Favoritism. I knew you liked him
yeah,
better.
yeah.
It's because you're the baby of the family. That always works. I have an older brother. Just always, even in your 50s, it always works. Just look,
Hmm.
I'm the baby of the family. It's the way it goes. My wife, she's the baby out of 7. She's,
Oh wow, yeah.
she's my age. She still gets away with stuff. So it's good to be the youngest.
Yeah, definitely. And it was interesting growing up because my parents were missionaries. So
Okay.
not only did we move around a lot, but we would have drastic, like you would move from Mongolia and then you go to Guatemala. So that's a pretty
Wow.
that's like a big move. But yeah, first 5 years of my life, I grew up in Mongolia. Guatemala was like 6 to 7. And then they worked with a missionary organization that was based in Florida. So
Uh-huh.
then we kind of just went more on a once a month kind of deal. Like we went to Peru and stuff like that. So, but yeah, definitely a very interesting childhood overall. I think that's pretty
Do
unique
you
from,
remember? Do you remember Mongolia well? Since it was from you said 1 to 5,
well, actually, it was like, I think we moved after I was just a few months old. I was like just born, but yeah,
but
it
like
is.
5 years old. Do you remember those places well, or
Yeah, I definitely have very strong different memories from stuff that we would do or different places we would go. But obviously I was very young, so there's
Sure.
very like core memories that I remember, but then some
Yeah.
of it is, obviously I'm not going to remember as much, but
Right.
yeah, it was I really did like it there. It was a really nice place that it actually wasn't a nice place that we lived in, but
Yeah.
I was a kid. I didn't know there was cows that were just outside of our apartment, and that was cool. So yeah, but
Did you so since you kind of bounced around, were you stable when you were in high school to just attend one high school, or were you still bouncing around then too?
yeah, so we kind of when we moved back to the States, we moved back to Ohio, and then we kind of stayed there, and then we went to Florida, and then we came back, and ever since we kind of came back in fourth grade, they're kind of retired from that field of work, so we've stayed in Ohio ever since.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Joe's asking, what type of shows do you watch? Wants to see where your mindset is.
Mhm.
Where you get your inspiration from your TV shows.
Yeah, so I have definitely a lot of different inspirations rooted in different things. So my favorite show of all time is Netflix's Daredevil. I thought they did
Oh
a
yeah, that's
Nice.
phenomenal
good.
job with that. The character arcs that both Matt and Wilson Fisk go through are very intense and mature, and it was an excellent show because you have these characters that you put it on a paper surface level kind of thing, and they seem very um, like selfish, really. But you wound up you're rooting for Wilson Fisk to get with Vanessa, but you also have seen him, slam somebody's head into a car door. So it's like
Yeah.
these, yeah. And then Matt is like a very selfish lawyer, and he beats on criminals because he has a violent, wants to exact revenge on them.
Mhm.
But they make you fall in love with the characters, and it feels very real, and so I really enjoyed that. And then obviously it had great cinematography. I'm a big fan of different cinematography and stuff like that. So just the storytelling overall was well done. The one shot sequences where it was like filmed in or made to look like it was filmed in one shot was very cool. I really enjoyed the overall lighting, that nice dark yellow
Oh yeah.
lighting for everything. So on an aesthetic level, it's very pleasing. And then it had an amazing story with awesome, awesome characters. I'm also into a little bit like 90s anime. I'm really not into any new anime, but I did enjoy Akira and Ninja
Mhm.
Scroll and
Yes.
Cowboy Bebop and
Oh yeah.
all that stuff really captures a very aesthetic vibe that I really enjoy. And then actually recently I just watched the first season of The Bear, which I really, really thought was well done. It dealt with a lot of interesting stuff with different mental health, and obviously the cinematography was
That's
great. And
is that FX?
I believe
Because I
it
know what you're talking
was.
about. I know
Yeah,
I haven't watched it. Honestly, I don't even know what it's about, but the visual that I see, I think it
yeah,
looks interesting and
it
I like
is.
the actor.
Yeah, he does a very well, plays a very well role. It was a very like nuanced and complicated show with a complicated character, which I'm always very drawn to, especially when it's a focus on the main character and you're not as focused on, like an Avengers book, you're going all over the place. But when you can really focus on a
Sure.
character and get inside their mind, his brother committed suicide and then he left him with his restaurant. So he sort of has to deal with the not only the financial stress, but the emotional stress and getting
So
over that and
where
having
does
all that
have
stuff.
they
So
there's only one season, right?
they just came out with season two, which is what I'm catching up on now. But yeah, the
Where
first
does the
season was
name
was great.
where does the name the bear come from?
So
Like, because I've
actually,
seen
the
the preview and I'm
character,
just like,
yeah, the character's last name is Brzado.
ah,
So it's like a family thing. It's like his brother would call him Bear, and so that's sort of the heart of the show. And then a little bit
yeah.
of spoilers, but he gets a restaurant and then he decides to reopen it and he names it the Bear. So that's like the last episode.
Oh, okay.
So it sort of all ties together, and then he has these different dream sequences, which are sort of a little bit my bad, nightmarish. And he actually he does this thing where he sleepwalks and he starts cooking in his sleep, which is very dangerous because he's catching stuff on fire. But
Sure.
Yeah, so the idea is that he was this really, really esteemed chef, very young chef, and he got like the title for the best chef. And then, but the amount of emotional, intense stress that you go through being in the kitchen with, they are very can be abusive. Have you ever seen Whiplash?
Mm-mm.
Oh wait, who's in that?
Oh, I don't even. Oh, J.K.
With,
Simmons, and
yes,
yeah.
yeah, that was the
So
movie, right? He was really
yeah, the
hardcore.
movie,
What was the instrument the dude played?
the drums.
Yes,
Yeah. So it's sort of a similar thing with that, where those guys, those older guys in that industry, can be very abusive and intense with the younger guys, and it can really take an
sure.
emotional and mental toll on them. But yeah, so I really enjoyed watching that, and obviously I liked Whiplash, and then La La Land was really quite done well. So I'm like all over the place. Like I'll go from like a really
Yeah,
dark, serious movie to like La La Land. I
sure.
really loved Blade Runner, but I actually love Blade Runner 2049 even more because it's like my generation's Blade Runner. So it's
Right.
sort of
Yep.
talking about different points and issues that we're dealing with in this current generation. And I really love what they did with the chosen one trope and how they completely flipped that on its head. It was really cool to experience that movie. And then a little bit of Martin Scorsese. I do quite enjoy, Taxi Driver, and then Silence was really well done.
Nice.
Um,
Like I said, I don't believe you're 18. I think you're lying.
yeah, yeah.
You're going.
I
You're.
mean,
See, it's funny because you're like, Taxi Driver, and I can remember that from when I was your age because that movie
right,
wasn't that old when I was your age. But I mean, that
yeah,
movie now is like 45 something
Yeah, but
right,
age.
you were
yeah,
excited when they came out with talkies.
Oh, please.
right. But yeah,
Believe it or not, Joshua, films used to be silent. Now,
yeah,
not when I was a kid, but they
right,
used to be, from what I hear.
So
yeah. So did
Joe's
you have
asking
like
if you're
the?
basically a sports guy at all.
Oh, I am not sports at all because here's my
Yeah,
big thing. I'm a big visual guy. So cinematography is very important to me. So how the shots are done and everything. And when I
sure.
try to watch sports, I'm like, this is the most boring because it's just a long shot the entire time. And
Oh
then
yeah,
they'll zoom into like a mid shot and then maybe a close up every once in a while. But it's just the most boring thing to watch for me. I do enjoy like playing different sports, and I did powerlifting, and I won that state championship. So that was like cool, but I
oh,
don't
that's cool.
really enjoy watching them in
Right.
particular, but they are really fun to play. But you know, I'm not, you know, I just don't care about that stuff because I'm just a very visual based person. So if something's
Yeah,
not visually appealing, I'm like, forget about it. So
yeah, Borgia, I get it. Yeah. Well,
yeah.
we refreshed. You're at 17,060.
Hey, we crossed
So
17,000.
there
That
you
is
go.
awesome.
So obviously you said, if I remember right, 9 hours left. Is that the first 30?
This is the first 30, and then I'll update it probably
Yep.
right after this show, just so that I don't forget. And then it's over. I'm like, oh, whoops, I forgot. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'll
You
update
don't
it
want that
after
to
this
happen.
show. So, that was just sort of an incentive to get people to back it sooner. But yeah, thank you
Oh
so
yeah.
much for the support, everybody. It's been doing really well, and I couldn't be more grateful for the awesome support and the fans and the fan art. I've been getting some really cool fan art
Oh, that's
for
cool.
this book, so that's been a really cool experience, and I'm very happy with the character design because it's iconic enough that anybody can kind of translate it in their own style, but they can also like change things around. Like whenever you look at different artists on Batman, you'll notice that they all draw
Oh
a different kind of Batman. So it's the same thing with Amarok. And there's a lot of different stuff you can play around. And it's definitely an artist's sort of character. So there's a lot of, I basically just put all the textures that I enjoy drawing in one
sure.
character. So I really like nice, like for example, even down to the body type. I really enjoy the body type of the wide lats and the thin waist and the big chest and
Oh yeah.
the 8-pack rather than doing the bigger rib cage that a lot of guys do. I like bringing it all the way up.
Yeah. No, I hear
But
you, brother.
the raggedy ruggedy cape and then the cool helmet, and then he has this magic arm, which is, sort of like splayed anatomy, but like metal bits. So it's how the artist interprets. If you've ever, anybody
Yeah.
here knows what I'm talking about. I mean, you guys do because, you're artists, but the splayed anatomy kind of idea. So everybody draws anatomy in a different way. So depending on their style, it'll look a lot different. So that's been really cool. And then I really like the ninja pants because they have this really cool flow to them. And then obviously the wraps and everything, they have an awesome texture that's just really fun to play around with the dynamics of that. And yeah, there's just, you can pretty much do anything you want with him. And
Well,
that's
I'll tell
that's
you
really
one thing.
cool.
I'm very excited. I'm a world builder,
Yeah.
so I love and can't wait to see what you've built out. I mean, your pencils look great. I can't wait to see the book, but I'm really going to key in on the world building and the storylines and stuff like that. So I can't wait to see how this one turns out. So good luck. I hope it's speedy. It just looks good, Joshua. It just looks
Thank
phenomenal. So
you.
I'm excited for you.
There you go, Joe. I think Joe nailed it. There's no way he's 18. He's a reincarnation of an older generation artist.
Yeah, well,
You
that's
never
really,
know, man. A few years from now, you might wake up and be like, my God, I have these memories from like
yeah.
the 80s so long ago. Where are these memories coming from?
Right. That's actually the thing. Even when I was in high school, I am not good at making friends with people my age. I just don't really get along with them. We're not on the same wavelength. They're like parties and drinking, and I'm like comics and philosophy and all
Right.
that stuff. So like even in school, I was just friends with the teachers. I didn't have any friends other
Yep,
than the
sure.
teachers. And then online, I'm friends with a lot of, you know, pretty much late 20s to 60s, that's the kind of age
Sure.
range. And talking to those people all the time, obviously talking to Dan, he'll be like, hey, watch this or watch this. Or I
Yeah.
do talk to Rob Willis a lot, so he'll be like, hey, have you checked out a Quentin Tarantino thing or Ninja? He actually recommended Ninja Scroll, so that was really cool.
Oh, that's
But
cool.
yeah, so when you talk to like older people and you're sort of into, I was always a big guy that was into creators. I think creating is the most magical, wonderful thing on earth, that you're able to take a blank piece of paper and a pencil, which is the most accessible thing in the world, and then you can create entire universes and worlds and develop characters all with your imagination, which is like the coolest superpower to have. So
Yeah.
besides just being automatically interested in that, being able to talk to the older generation and get their advice and sort of have these mentor dynamics going on, it's been a very wonderful experience that has helped me flesh out my, you know, my mindset on life, essentially. So
Cool, man.
Well, on a parting word, we were talking music a little bit before, and you said you love music that tells a story. I don't know if you've ever listened to it. Queensryche's Operation Mindcrime is my favorite album of all time, and the whole thing, it does nothing but it's an entire story. The entire album is
it's
all the
awesome.
songs in
Yeah.
a story. So, you familiar with it?
No, I'll have to check it out. That's definitely the thing, is like, since I'm so young and people are like, hey, have you heard of this? And I'm like, I've never
Yeah.
heard of that in my entire life. And it's like a really popular thing, but I'm just so young that I haven't experienced it yet. So I'm all for, checking out brand new stuff. Well, brand new for me, but
Yeah.
obviously very
Yeah.
sort of
Check it
probably
out.
like a legendary
Operation
album
Mindcrime.
in the music world. But yeah, there's all sorts of stuff, and it's just really cool to be able to have it all at your fingertips and experience it and go through it. So yeah.
God, I would love. I got to be honest. I would love to know, to like be 18 now and experiencing all the stuff with. I mean, dude. I mean, when like around 12 years old, you're like, yeah, cell phones. What's the big deal? Whereas we're like, no,
Right.
dude, you don't
Yeah,
understand the big deal.
I can still
Yeah.
remember one of the first cell phones, because I used to sell them, and it was like 3.5, 4 pounds. It was a Simon. It literally was this big.
Yeah, it's like a brick.
And it was the first one that lit up that had a touch screen. And I mean, your arm got tired after 5 minutes on the phone with it.
Right.
Now, I mean, it's like
Dennis,
Zoolander. They got these little ones that go, hello.
Dennis, your arm
Hello,
got
God.
tired because you're kind of wimpy. That's
Yeah.
why.
Yeah,
Holding a
ju-
little,
just
holding,
remember
holding,
that.
holding your Samsung Galaxy stresses
You
you out.
guys, it's real life. When you check out Kor-Drath the Reckoning, you can see Andy and I wrestling in it, and you can see who wins.
Could you say arm wrestling?
I did.
No, you didn't.
Arm wrestling.
You said wrestling. Way to make it gay, Dennis. That makes it weird for the guest. Everybody go check out Amarok. Joshua, you're You're a great guy, man. It was fun talking to you.
Thank you.
Your work is really, like I said, it's cool, man. You've got that cool factor, and honestly, all you can do is just keep getting better and go up.
That's
And
the
starting
plan.
out where you are now. Oh, look at that. Hold on. Let me
Refresh one more time. We got another big backer.
oh yeah,
Ooh.
you're gonna like this. Let's see. That's the right button. Look at that.
Oh, no way. Awesome. Yeah.
Nice.
So we got
17,370. Guys, that is officially the DNA bump,
Yeah.
as we call it. We got some
Thank
good back.
you. Thank you.
Yeah,
That's an
thank you,
amazing
guys.
packet. Thank you so much.
And before we go, of course, Kor-Drath, The Reckoning. Guys, I have 2 pages left to draw. We were on the professionals last night. I asked Aaron Lepresti, I said, hey, Aaron, what do you got left there, pal, of Wraith of God? And he's like, well, I got 7 to go. I was like, oh, I got 2.5. And now I got 2. I inked the page today. So 2 pages left to draw on Kor-Drath, The Reckoning.
But it's not a contest.
It is not a contest. It never will be a contest. Randy Howell, thank you very much. $43 away from 87,000 because we ran a campaign on Kickstarter as well. So that is how that math works out. So guys, we are then at $3,043 away from the $90,000 stretch goal of the Necronite. Let me see. I always like showing stuff. Show, don't tell. The Necronite playable character card, because Dennis is writing the game module. So you can play some of the Kor-Drath characters. Right now, everybody gets Kor-Drath, Adriana, Lilith, playable characters, great art on the front, stats on the back, 7x10, nice and big. And Necronite's the next one. And everybody as of now is also going to be getting the Shattered Reach map as well. I'm just looking for where that is in these little thumbnails I have. There it is. Everybody gets the Shattered Reach map. And public service announcement, T-shirts come down next week. So we can put the order into the T-shirt guy. So get your T-shirt now. Get your beanie as well. It is jet black. I lightened it up so it didn't look like a silhouette. And there's my Kor-Drath shirt featuring my art. So go get it. Place your orders for the T-shirts and beanies because they will be coming down next week. And we don't want you to miss out.
That's right.
Next week, we do have a guest. We will announce it later. And I guess I'm trying to think. No movie review this week because I'm going to a convention with my daughter. So not going to be able to catch a movie. So we'll have to just do one next week. I know Dennis is dying to see Barbie. I said, you can go without me. I won't feel bad. Go right ahead.
Yep. Not going to see Barbie. And I will not be doing a movie review, but I got my new comics this week. I'll be doing the quick flips. And I'm going to pick one out and do a full review on it. And if I can, I'm going to be doing another book and record from the 1970s playthrough. So I've had a lot of good responses and comments on them, and I'll keep popping them up as long as I can get my hands on those good old classics.
And let me address this with Joe Bernardo. Andy, before the season gets going, double or nothing for our Cowboy bet. Better season between the Cowboys and Niners, are you in for Dak? So what was the bet? So is it at the end of the – because we don't play each other. So at the end of the season, who has the best record? Is that the bet? Are you sure you want to lose? I mean, Joe, if you want to lose, I guess we can do it. So there you go. I mean, who knows?
Preseason trash talking already.
Who's your quarterback? I mean, is Brock back? I mean, come on, Joe. Get some stuff figured out on your end, and then we'll deal with it. Guys, thank you again for joining us. Joshua, of course, thank you for joining us. We will be back next week, 5 o'clock, to do this again.
And then just hang on, Josh, and we'll talk to you right after.
That's right.
Thank you so much for having me.
You bet.
You got it.
Prosper, everybody.